Hey everyone, it's Ralph again with a pretty big update video. For those of you looking specifically for the server room update, you can skip ahead to this mark right here. Otherwise, please enjoy this behind the scenes featurette on making the world of Quantum. World building. Some of you may be familiar with that term from behind the scenes content and feature film series like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Before you can shoot a single frame of your film or TV show, or even before you can render a single frame of computer-generated imagery, you first have to lay out and build the world your story is going to take place in. Having a super small budget as far as industry standards go meant that Quantum would need some serious digital sets, since the funding isn't there to fly a crew around the world to amazing locations, or build giant elaborate sci-fi sets to shoot in. Quantum was going to need a full 360-degree set, many of them in fact, that can be filmed from any angle. And I was going to need a photorealistic solution, which is more difficult for me to pull off than what I did in Genesis. You see, in Genesis Paradise Lost, there was certainly photorealism, but it was very stylized and not fully photoreal, like what you see in, let's say, The Jungle Book or The Lion King. Those films have massive budgets and armies of digital artists that can spend the time perfecting shots until you can't tell the difference between a frame of their film and an actual photograph. So now it came time to build the main digital set, the home base for Dr. Jackson's character and his robot companion. The storyboard helped me flesh out which scenes would be shot there and which camera angles would be used, but I still knew that I would need a full 360-degree set despite the fact that I already knew the camera angles, because I also knew that I had to be prepared for future episodes that had not yet been written. So the Cove was created and took several months to perfect. I couldn't cheat and, let's say, only have a background that cut off just off the camera's view. And I couldn't have water that, let's say, only appeared in the cave but not outside the cave, because the camera was going to be able to go outside too. I even went so far as to put twigs, branches, and debris on the beach so that if I set the camera down there, you'd believe that this was a real island somewhere. Everything from the water movement, to the boats floating on the water, to the trees blowing in the wind, had to be pre-calculated and the data stored onto massive drives so that later it could be recalled when a new shot had to be rendered. And by the way, when you're watching these trees blow in the wind, mind you, this isn't real time like what you're seeing on this playback. When I'm working with it, I don't get to see it like this. I have to click play and come back 20 minutes later to see a few seconds of trees blowing in the wind, to give you an idea of how slow it is working in this environment. So now that I had this fantastic 360-degree island setting, it was time to start working on the time-traveling device our protagonists would be using, a ship. And by the grace of God, I found the perfect ship. I found a 3D model on a website that looked fantastic. There was only one major setback. When I took the cockpit shield off, there was nothing inside. Not even a basic outline for me to work off of. Just nothing. On top of all the other work I was going to have to do, I now had to build out an entire working cockpit complete with story-relevant data screens, seats, ventilation, and other plot-dependent devices that I can't spoil just yet. Remember earlier when I mentioned the importance of world building? Well, this was one of those critical things that had to be worked out immediately so that other dependencies downstream could also be realized. So I first created a basic mold, which would then inform me of the space I had to work with. Next, I bent the shell of another 3D flight craft into a shape that conformed to that mold. And then next came the seats, the joysticks, the interactive monitor that Dr. Jackson would be using, and even some 3D stand-in models of Dr. Jackson himself and the robot to ensure that the space was accurate to their respective body measurements. That wasn't all though. The ship was still just an empty shell with no hardware inside, like landing gear. So I imported various models and parts from other assets to create makeshift landing gear. I also had to write some scripts, which is sort of like programming code, to allow me to control the landing gear sequentially. With just the push of a slider, I could fully engage the landing gear, or retract it back into the craft. The same went with the cockpit, which used hydraulics, as well as control surfaces like the flaps on the thrusters. So with that and a bit of other work, I now had a ship that was finally ready to insert into shots. Hey guys, it's Ralph again. I'm doing a little iPhone video update here on the server room that you guys helped me build. You know, I was actually thinking over the years, every time I've talked about rendering, that you guys might be like, what is he talking about? But evidently, you paid a lot more attention than I gave you credit for, because a few months ago I asked you guys to help me with the rendering room, which was, you know, really critical for somebody in my profession. And you guys showed up and you nailed it by the grace of God. You gave me all the funds I needed and more, and I went ahead and completed it. I got it done in about 6 weeks, and I just wanted to show you the results. So let me flip the phone over here. All right, so check this out, guys. Here it is. The server room took me 6 weeks to do. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I've got this really cool control panel over here that helps me control all the devices in the room. It also helps with monitoring and security. I've got this beautiful server rack. Thank you, Betsy, for that. It's my favorite server rack. It has glass in the front, so when you actually close the door, the 2 layers of glasses just cancel out all the sound. It's just wonderful. I also wanted to thank Mark too. Thank you, Mark, for the fantastic air conditioner unit and for re-outfitting the insides of the old computer cases with new parts. And I also created a little plaque here, guys, to commemorate it. To thank the Indiegogo and Patreon supporters who have made this thing possible. Thank you guys so much. Totally awesome. I did a little more plaques over here just to show some of the things that I've done and I'm working on that this server room will actually even be a part of too, which is great. It was all do-it-yourself. It took me about 6 weeks. I went out to the hardware stores and I bought all the lumber and all the electrical work, and I built it out. I actually designed it in the same 3D program that I've been making the series in, so that's pretty cool. And then once I designed it, I did the woodwork and then the electrical work and then all the fine tuning and polishing, and I hope you guys don't mind, but I also splurged a little bit and got some blue LED accent lighting. I didn't think you would care too much if I splurged just a little bit. Put some nice little hard vinyl flooring in, which is really nice, nice and smooth. I can roll around in it when I'm doing work. And check this out, guys. I've got the name tags in here too for all of our sponsors who were able to sponsor the computers. They fit perfectly into this spot. I mean, I didn't even have an extra millimeter to go, but I've got all you guys on here. Some of you might be wondering why there are 2 for each one unit, but that's because there are actually 2 computers inside of each one unit. That helps me save on the power. It's a great power saving scheme. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I got all of you on there, and I'll think of you every time that I turn the computers on. And sometimes when computers act up, I'll think of you too, because your name is now associated with the computer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But thank you guys. It's amazing. I just thank God every day for you. You are like single-handedly keeping this ministry alive and thriving, and I can't wait to give you more updates. I hope you enjoyed the update that you just saw, and I'll have another update in several months from now with more awesome behind-the-scenes stuff. I love you guys. God bless you all. And make sure that you're not just giving and supporting me and other ministries. Make sure you're also doing too, guys.